Namaskar. So we'll have this final section of this first chapter where we'll discuss summary of the whole chapter and some question action we'll attempt at the end after completing this complete videos and going through all the videos and understanding all the concepts. You should attempt the quiz which will be available in your dashboard and also below this interface link which you will see at the bottom. So let's have a summary of that, what all we have learned in brief, and that will be a very important point wise discussion. We'll have a review which is very well understood, in the exam time. This is that place where you should revisit and go through all your conceptual understanding what we have discussed so far. So let's begin the summary part. So first of all, we had seen about electric charge. So what we have seen about electric charge, there are two types of charges, right? Positive charge and negative charge, right? Electron have the least charge, the charge amount 1 × 10⁻⁹ Coulomb, that is negative, and proton have equal but positive, plus 1.6 × 10⁻⁹ Coulomb. What else we have seen? We have seen that same type of charges repel each other. Of charges repel and opposite charges attract each other. Opposite charges attract, right? Then we had seen about conductors and insulators. So what we had seen in this? So conductors are those material allow electricity through them, or insulators readily allow, right? And in between we had seen what another type, semiconductor, which have conductivity or resistivity in between insulator and conductor, right? Less than conductors and greater than insulators, right? Also we had seen about properties of basic properties of charges. So what are those? First, additive nature of charges. Additive nature, what it means, if there is a system and there are charges Q1, Q2, Q3 in a system, then it will be sum. So total charge can be written as Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 plus Q4, as like we add the scalars. The second point, we had seen that the quantization of charge. What it means? If it means that the charges are always found in the integral multiple of minimum charge, that is E, which we had seen the electron charge, and this is an integer, right? The other point which we have seen about it is that conservation of charge. What it means? It means that a charge cannot be created or destroyed, it can be transferred from one to other, right? So that is that talks about the conservation of charge. Okay, so next we had seen about Coulomb's law. What is Coulomb's law? If there are 2 point charges Q1 and Q2, okay, so it provides, Coulomb's law provides the quantitative approach to define the force between the two charges from one charge to the other charge. So let's say these are the two charges, and you want to have a force on charge q2 due to charge q1, so you can write F12 and then you can give F12 as in the vector form 1/4 pi epsilon 0 q1 q2 upon r. This vector distance you can give r from charge 2 to charge 1, so r12 let's say, and then r12 cap, that is the direction, right, where this is the constant. We can also represent it as k, k upon is equal to 1/4 pi epsilon 0. The value of this is 10 power 9 10 into 10 power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square, right, where epsilon is 0 is what is that? Permittivity of free space, and the value of this is how much? Epsilon 0 is equal to 8.85419 into 10 power minus 12 Coulomb square per Newton meter square, right? This is that value for epsilon 0. Okay, so let's move to the next point. What we had seen about principle of superposition. So what is principle of superposition? Let's say this is your system, and there are two charges q1 and q2, and there are many charges q3, q4, right? So the forces on charge q1 due to q2 or on q2 due to q1 will not be influenced by any other charge, right? They will be acted individually, and you can take a vector sum. So the total force can be given by force due to charge q1 on q2, q2 to q3, so like that you can have a vector sum. So that's the point of superposition, that the presence of third charge cannot influence the force due to one charge on the other, or vice versa. So that's the important point about superposition principle. Also we have seen the point where we have discussed about electrostatic force due to continuous charge distribution. So charge distribution. So in this case we have learned about three types, and that what are those? The first was linear charge distribution. So what is linear charge distribution? Let's say you have a long wire here, and that is it is a charged wire. Okay. Now let's say if you have a area element, line element like this, and you want to calculate the force somewhere here due to this. So the electric force or the field, whatever you want to calculate from this end. So let's say this is the position vector r. So let's say this is that linear charge density b lambda, then the total charge within this will be given by how much? Let's say this is the length of dl. So the total charge in this dq can be written as lambda dl, right? And due to this charge you can find out the force usually as you do. So let's say this is the area element force df. It can be given as magnitude I am talking about 1/4 pi epsilon 0 q. Let's say this is the test charge here. Let's say it is a q0, then it can be q0 into the charge dq, right? dq upon r square. Let's say it's the vector, then magnitude of it, and then the direction would be out radially in the radial direction, right? So then you can find the full force by getting the integrator where dq can be replaced by this value. So this is about linear charge distribution. Similarly, you can have your surface charge distribution. So in this case you may have your surface which is charged. Then you can choose your a small area in this. Let's say this is that it have a surface charge density sigma, and then area is let's say ds, right? So the total charge in this content would be given by dq is equal to rho ds. And in this case you can find out the force at some point. Let's say this is your p where you want to find a force, so you can find it. How to do it? So let's say there is a test charge q0 here, so you can find df in this case as 1/4 pi epsilon 0 q0, and then you can provide the surface integration of all sigma ds, upon r square, mod of r is r square, the magnitude you are talking about, and it will be radially inward or outward depending upon the charge type, right? Similarly, we can have the third type where you can have a volume charge distribution. So in this, let's say you have some volume, right, which is uniformly charged, let's say, and then you can have a small volume element from here. Let's say this is dV and the volume charge density is rho. Then if you want to find the point P, what would be the force if there is a test charge Q0, then you can find it. So in this case, what will be the dq in that area element, rho dV, and then the force dF can be written as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 test charge Q0, your dq upon r, the vector, let's say this is your vector r, magnitude d square r cap. The total force can be given here in this case 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 Q0, and then integration where you will provide dq is your rho dV upon r square r cap. So this is your integration form which we had used in when we are discussing in the summation form, but if delta v tending to 0, then it can be converted into integral. So of course you should be familiar with the integration, how to use it. And similarly you can utilize all these in the form of electric field. So how the electric field is defined? So electric field defined as force on unit charge. So you can have E where limit q tending to 0, q0, test charge is tending to 0 because it is not influencing the actual charge which you are going to estimate, delta f by q0, right? The force on a unit charge per unit charge is defined as electric field, and this is the definition as you have seen. So in all these cases, divide by q0 you will get the electric field, and you can utilize the similar concept there. So in all these cases, you can have that electric field. So it's a linear surface volume charge distribution. Okay, so the electric field can be given as how? So you can write electric field here, electric field q 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 integration, line integration here, lambda dl upon r square r cap. Similarly here electric field can be given as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 surface integration sigma ds upon vector r square magnitude r cap. In case of volume, it can be written as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 volume integration rho dV upon mod r square r cap. So this is the three cases how the integration is converted, and you can utilize the same force field in the form of electric field estimation. And this is from the same point, like if you have a charge q and this is your point P where you want to estimate the electric field. So let's say here is a test charge q, so electric field would be E, it will be given as force acting on that divided by its test charge. So it can be 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q upon r square r cap, that will be radially outward. This is your vector r. Similarly, as we have discussed that electric field due to a system of charges, so it also follows the superposition principle. So how it is? So let's say if there is a point P where there is a test charge q and there are different charges which will cause electric field. Let's say here it is q1, q2, so here it will be e2, e1. Similarly, let's say here is q3, then you have e3. The total electric field will be system following the superposition principle. It will be e1 plus e2 plus e3 right? So this is that vector sum we should follow. We had also seen about electric field lines. So what were the electric field lines? They were the pictorial representation of electric field intensity, right? So if it is denser, then that electric field lines, electric field intensity is high. If it is sparse, then you have a weaker field there. We had also seen that if there is a positive charge Q, and that the electric field lines will be radially outward if it is a single charge, and if it is a negative charge, then it will be radially inward, electric field lines. We had also seen that if there are two positive charges Q separated, then how the force line will be. It will be something like that, right? In case of one positive and one negative, how it is, it will be like starting from positive going to negative, right? So it will just tell the outward here, and here it is inward. Okay, so this pictorial representation we had seen. What else? Now it's about electric dipole, let's say. So how we have defined electric dipole? So let's say this is a minus Q charge here, and there is a separation plus Q charge. They are separated by a distance 2a. Then the electric dipole is defined vector P, which is either one of the charge magnitude and distance, and the dipole moment, and the direction is always from minus to plus, right? So this is the electric dipole moment. So this is how it is defined. And generally in the direction we say P cap, where P cap is that minus Q to Q. The axis which is joining this plus and minus, they are also called dipole axis. Now let's have an expression of dipole, electric dipole and an electric field in that case, so which we have already seen. So let's say if it is an axial line, so for example, let's say this is your minus Q and this is your plus Q, right? And they are separated by a distance 2a, and if you want to find a point at the axial point which is far from the center, the distance from center is, let's say this is one is R, then you can find out that what would be the electric field here at this point due to this dipole, right? And that we have seen E axial, we call it, and that comes out to be 1/4 pi epsilon 0 if dipole moment r, the distance between the from the center of it, and then you have r square minus a square to the power whole square, right? And the same way if a is very less than r, most of the cases, then electric field is reduced to in the form of 1/4 pi epsilon 0 to p upon r cube. So with what it represents that E is proportional to 1/r cube, which it means that if you draw r and versus E, then it will be even more steeper curve here, steeper hyperbola. Right. Similarly, in case of the other case where we had seen for equatorial line, so in this case it was something like this. Let's say this is your plus, this is your minus, this is your plus, and this is your center from where this is your equatorial plane, let's say P. So due to this the electric field was in this direction, it will be away, the resultant will be in the opposite direction like this, as you had seen, where this angle is theta, this angle is theta, which is equivalent to this angle. Let's say this is your distance r, and then this is the half of the distance a, then this would be r square plus a square, and you can divide this into two components. The x component will add up, and then as we had seen that solving it, we get E equatorial, which is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 minus vector p upon r square plus a square to the power 3 by 2, right? And here in this case again, if a, the distance between this is very less than that r where we are talking about, the magnitude of E equatorial will be given by how much? 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 the mod of vector p r cube, right? This is the expression for that. This was the total distance 2a for this case. So as we can see that for the case of a is very less than the distance that we are estimating the field, so the magnitude of axial electric field divided by the equatorial, so it will be what? It will be twice. The axial amount is twice of that. We are also seeing that if we are forcing the torque in this case, so if there is a uniform electric field like this, and then we have a dipole, something like that, where it will have a force in the opposite direction here in this case, and that plus this case, and this here it will fulfill the torque, and if it is making an angle theta, then the torque can be given as tau is equal to the cross product vector E and electric field, the cross product of it, and where will have your dipole moment from minus 2p to p, where the force here QE, and here it will be minus QE, right? That we had seen. Now we'll have a look at the Gauss law. So what it says that if the total charge enclosed in a closed surface is, let's say it is Q enclosed, then the total flux passing through this would be given by phi is equal to Q enclosed divided by epsilon 0, right? So this is the expression for Gauss law that we get the total flux. And in this case we had seen some special cases. So for example, we had seen for thin infinitely long wire, so the electric field in this case is given by electric field E is equal to lambda, the line charge density, divided by 2 pi epsilon 0 r, and then normal to the normal to the plane or in the radial direction. Similarly, in the case of we have seen the infinite thin plane sheet with the uniform charge distribution, charge density being sigma, then in that case the electric field is given by sigma upon 2 epsilon 0, right, n cap, that normal to the plane. The third category which we had seen for the case of spherical shell of infinite charge density sigma, how it was given, electric field is given Q upon 4 pi epsilon 0 r, like r square r cap, as it is concentrated all in the center. In this case this was the case, right? This is your sphere charge, this is your center, and then it depends where you are taking your R, outside or inside, right? So it can be here, it can be here. This is your R dimension. So if it is R is 0, if R is less than R. Okay, so the two cases which we have seen. We have also not seen one case. I think let's have a look at it. So consider that you have insulating a sphere, let's say, where the charge is embedded throughout the volume. So let's say this is your electric field here. The total charge is Q, let's say. So if this is R and this is filled with the charge, and let's say this is your R here. So let's say now I want to find out that what would be that at different position R the electric field due to this, right? So let's say if this is the total charge, then the volume charge density can be given by total charge divided by the area. So 4 pi let's say volume 4 by 3 pi R cube, right? So this is the charge density for this whole sphere, as you can give, right? So if I have to apply the Gauss law, where depend upon the Gauss variety. So let's say this is my Gaussian surface. Within that, if R is less than R, in that case what I can write, the Gauss law, the total flux would be 4 pi R square electric field E, right? And it will be the total enclosed within this volume would be what, the total charge in this whole volume, it would be rho into 4 by 3 pi R cube, right? So this will be my total charge enclosed in this case. So in that case if I apply the Gauss law, so 4 pi R square E is equal to rho into 4 by 3 pi R cube upon epsilon 0, right? This, as per the Gauss law, this is the expression. So if I want to find out electric field magnitude, then what would be the value? It will be of course if it is pointed ideally outward, so let's say it can be written as 4 will go here, right? And here if I want to write the value of rho, so I can write here, replace it. So E is equal to rho is what, Q upon 4 by 3 pi R cube into pi by 3 R cube from this cancel part and epsilon 0, right? So if I cancel pi 3 here, and R square is gone, so here it is here this will come into R square, so this 3 will go here, so we are left with 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0, 4 pi R square here, so 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 Q R upon R cube, right? So this is that case when R is less than R. The other case you can think if it is outside R, so the total charge will be given by Q. Q enclosed will be the total charge 4 by 3 pi R cube into rho, and then in that case your total flux will be 4 pi R square and into E, right? So charge enclosed, as we have seen. So if you apply the Gauss law here, 4 pi R square E is equal to 4 by 3 pi R cube rho upon epsilon 0. So this would be equivalent to the total charge Q upon epsilon 0. Okay, so the electric field in this case can be given as E is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 Q upon R square, right? So this is what we get assuming that if everything is concentrated at the center, right? So if I have to plot the curve for the electric field, then how will do it? So I can have it something like that. So we'll have, let's say this is your R and this is your electric field, and this is, let's say, your sphere we are talking about here. Okay, and this is charge, and let's say this is the Gaussian surface which is having distance r. So how it is going to vary? So let's see how we can plot. So let's say this is your center point. So as we saw that if r is less than r, then no, it is the q is proportionally moving as per up to here r, and then you'll have beyond that, right? So you can see that it will go something like this, and then it will be coming out at 1 upon r square, right? So here at this point electric field, as we have seen, given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q r upon r cube, and the maximum is here where it is at the point of r is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q upon r square. That is the maximum value, and here again it comes out to be 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 q upon r square as it moves further. So this is the expression, and no, I just wanted to give you that how the problems can be asked in exams, and how you have to understand and estimate depending upon the different situation. You should understand that. So this is all about that summary part with some one of the examples. So here we complete our this first chapter. I hope you go through again this summary part during that exams, once exam is near, because it will give you the complete highlight and the formulas and all. You should make your own some kind of keynotes, something like that, which is very helpful during the examination and during completing exam. So you should follow it. Also, at the bottom or in your dashboard, you will look at that chapter 1 quiz. You attempt it and try to find your preparation, and keep repeating and learning, and do more practice. That way it makes you better performing in the examinations as well. So with this we complete the chapter 1, and now we'll start our second chapter. See you in your next lecture, where we'll start our second chapter, electrostatic potential and capacitance. See you there. Thank you.